The magic at Iceland was my dad. He was a life force there, and people liked to be around him.
He could get enthused about anything. He was insatiably curious. I remember one story about how he'd been on an airplane coming back from Europe, and the man who sat next to him was an expert on bees. And they talked all the way across the United States until Dad knew more about bees than anybody else he knew except for an expert.
My earliest recollection, and really he's always been that way, is he bounded into a room and just had the presence to fill the room. Wherever he was, everybody was aware of him. Not because he was annoying or somehow like that, but he just had this sort of expansive personality that would pull people in.
He enjoyed people from all different walks of life. It didn't bother him very much if you weren't very talented. That wasn't ever his thing. His thing was, how did he help you learn to skate better? I remember this one young woman, her name was Shauna. She wasn't very coordinated at all, but she was determined to learn an axle. I think it took him 3 years to teach her how to do one, but I will never forget the smile on her face the time she first landed one. And he said, you know, most people would have given up on her a long time ago, but she was just determined, and I respect that kind of determination, and I wanted to help her learn to do an axle.
My mom and dad met at the ice rink, and my mom tells a pretty funny story about it. She says, you know, this was right after World War II, and there was a man shortage. And, you know, all over the country, and so I took up ice skating, and then I met Bill, and I could just tell there was something really special about him, but I was just having such a hard time getting him to pay attention. And so finally I decided that I was done ice skating, even though I really loved it, and went in with great fanfare, you know, cleaned out my locker and threw things noisily into my bag and was stomping out the front door while my dad was putting up Christmas decorations. My dad tells the story, he says, yeah, well, I could tell she was really mad, and I was kind of scared, and I was paying attention to my decorations, and finally I realized she wasn't gonna come back. And so I came down off the ladder, stopped putting up the decorations, and said, oh, Gene, what's the matter? And then, you know, 6 months later, they're married. When my dad was young, he had a terrible time reading, couldn't really read. At one point got thrown out of school for stabbing his teacher in the back with a pencil. You know, there's a letter from the principal to my grandfather saying, you know, it's a shame that a boy of this age can neither read nor write nor add. And yet, somehow he turned around to do, you know, really all these wonderful things and to help so many people during the course of his life. And he became in later life very involved in child intervention programs and things, you know, cities in schools, things that were designed to help kids turn their lives around. And that was always very important to him to do those sorts of things, that not give up on anybody, because if people had given up on him, think all the things, you know, all these people would never have enjoyed.
Well, I remember the doorbell rang and there was Sherry, my niece, telling me that he'd been killed in an automobile accident.
Oh, that was really hard on me. My father was my best friend, and that was difficult, and I miss him. You know, I wish he was here right now. I wish he knew my children. I wish he could see them skate.
Well, for me, I was in San Jose, and I got a call on my phone from my sister Wendy. She left a message in a very tearful voice telling me to call her, and I knew something was wrong almost immediately. And I called her up, and she said Dad had died, and I just, to this very day, it brings tears to my eyes. He'd promised me he was going to see in the millennium. He promised me he was going to make it till 2000, and I believed him. He'd always told me the truth before, and he didn't make it.
We had his funeral at Iceland, and yeah, it was completely full. Standing room only, everywhere. They were, people flew in to be at his funeral. It was a real touching moment for all of us, that being at his age, to still have a whole bunch of people come to say goodbye.